Hello and welcome to the 26th chapter in this series, Programming Simple Flappy Robin for Android using Cocos2dx. So what's happened since the last video is the last video was just a quick explanation of the release I was doing whilst I was away. And you'll have probably noticed that there were a couple of versions released for various reasons I'll talk about in the Play Store. And what I want to do now is actually start getting the game to the state that it's in its release state on the Play Store. What I did want to originally do was do the saving of the settings using our new JNI abilities going between the C++ layer and the Java layer, but I've decided it's better to get the gameplay as it is in the released version first, because there have been a few changes, because I spotted a few errors, and also I've cleaned up a little bit the interface. So let's get on with that very quickly. Inside splash scene.cpp, there's already a couple of things I've changed inside here. The first one that we need to change is inside the init function here. You remember that we scale the background sprite here, and then we also scale the floor sprite. Well, you'll actually see if you've got the code state from the previous code that we scale the background sprite here again, not the floor sprite. So you need to make sure the floor sprite is inside there. Otherwise, you may have noticed on different resolutions the height of the floor on the splash screen isn't consistent. The other thing then that I've also done is I've changed the font sizes on these labels here. I've got 64 and 40, and really this will be available for download for the videos. There's nothing you haven't seen before. You could really just take this splash scene code and just drop it in, but I've changed this font size, and I've also made some changes which you can see and type out now if you want to, for the position as well of the two labels on the screen, just so that it's positioned slightly more aesthetically pleasing, let's say. So we've got the visible height divided by 2 plus the visible height divided by 6, and then for the bottom layer, again, divided by 2 but minus the height divided by 4. I just found that then looked a little better with these font sizes, but again, it's not really about the graphics, the whole app, it's about learning how it's done. Onto the settings scene then, and inside the settings scene, the only thing to change was the font sizes inside the setting scene, and I've changed those font size then here on this line just to a 40 to make all of the fonts a little bit bigger so things are easier to see on a small screen. In fact, I found overall on the app, although I was using the Nexus a lot, once I went and got hold of a few people with sort of mini phones and things, then there were a few things that weren't quite so good. So that's the change needed to do here. And then on hello world scene.cpp, also there's a font size change, and there have been quite a few other changes. The first thing is I've set all of the fonts at 48, so both the game over font size and the score font size. And now what we want to do on the hello world scene is we actually want to add in another couple of labels. So at the moment we've got a situation where it says game over, and then the I think it says game over because I've now lost track of what, yeah, here we've got the game over label here. Well, I actually wanted that to say game over when the robin crashed or dropped off the bottom of the screen. Hold that there and then replace that with the label that says press start to press the robin to restart, just so that things look a little bit nicer when you're playing it. So we'll add in a restart label, and we're also going to add in an exit button as well. So we'll call this, we'll call it exit label, not button. So an exit label as well, so that when the user presses this, the application closes, because it's nice to add that, because what's really not nice I find on these smartphones is that the apps don't close when you shut them down. So let's go into hello world scene.cpp then and actually get on with setting these labels up. And as you're aware, this won't be very difficult now because we've done this a few times, but let's just take our settings label here then, and let's just create from this our exit label. And again, I've said many times this copy and paste and stuff isn't so good, and we could have already shortened the code quite a lot here, but for the sake of these videos it doesn't matter too much. So we've got the game over font size, and then the position of the exit label, we want the width minus the settings gap, because we want it over on the right hand side. And then what we want simply is the settings gap up from the bottom that we want to position it. It's color red, and here we need an anchor point of 1 by 0 here. So it fits just like the label at the top right, settings, it fits in the bottom right hand corner quite nicely. And then we'll just add that to the child like so. So nothing major that you haven't seen before here, everything is okay. And now what we need is the restart label. So I'll take the game over label here, and then we want to have our restart label. I'll just tab all this backwards here and paste all this in here like this so we don't get any silly crashes. Now, position of the restart label is exactly the same. It gets set to invisible also, and the only thing we need to change here is we need to just tap the Robin to restart. So that then is our restart label, and note here the visibility of the restart label is set to false. So now we need to deal with that, getting those labels to sort of appear and stuff correctly at the right times. So we need to scroll up a little bit then and have a look at our various functions. So the first thing we want to do is then, when we start the game now, what will actually be visible is our restart label. So we'll make our restart label, set that visible to false. Everything else stays the same. And now in our game over, we set touch enabled false. We show then our game over label. But then when we've got our re-enable after game over, we actually want to hide our game over label, which we already do, I've just seen here. And then we want to set, however, the restart label's visibility to true. You'll see the effect of that when we run the application at the end of the video. So what that does then is that simply should be fairly self-explanatory. Now when the game's over, we get the game over. It sits there for a couple of seconds, or the 2.5 seconds defined here, and then is replaced with the tap the Robin to restart. So the next thing then to look at is the exit button, obviously. And with the exit button, where's the update? Where's the touches? Here it is. The exit button, we want to only we want to be able to exit irrelevant whether the game is running or not. So what I'll do is I'll just take, I won't take that if statement. I'll say at the top of the exit here, I'll say if and exit label dot contains, oh no it's not, it's an arrow isn't it, and then contains point and it's bounding box. I'm sorry, I'm not in full flow yet, so I'll just copy this and press here. So if the exit label bounding box contains our tap, then we can close the application. The way we do that is, first of all, let's play an effect for the Robin tap. So we want the user to know that exit has been pressed. We'll quickly log also that exit was pressed to the console for debugging if you need that. And then now there's something that I like to do here. When you press exit, often there's a slight pause as everything closes down in the app. So I like the sound to play, but I also like there to be a delay before the exit is called, so that the sound can actually get played before the app tries to exit. And also to stop any other touches being sent to the application as well. So I'll say this and set touch enable to false, so that we don't receive any touches now that exit has been pressed. And now what I want to do is I actually want to schedule the exit. So I'm just going to say to schedule once, and then we want a schedule selector. And I'd have been quicker typing that out by hand, wouldn't I? Schedule and schedule selector, and then we need to have the selector which is going to be hello world exit app, which you're probably aware of we haven't actually written yet, but we're going to write right now. So going up into helloworld.h, again we need a function to exit the app. So I'm just going to copy this here and call this then exit app, and just take this code here and go into hello world scene.cpp, and just above touches began, let's put it there like so, and drop the hello world in. And then to actually exit the app, what we would do here is save our settings to the disk, but we haven't got the settings code in yet. That'll come. So we'll just take the shared director, and then we can call just simply end like so, and that ends the app. And again, the point of doing this is that there's always a bit of a sort of, as everything closes in the app, there's a delay where you want to hear the sound, so you want the sound to be played before the close actually happens, and to give it a chance, touch to be set to false so we don't receive any more, and then we'll call the app exit, and of course we need to specify a time as well for exiting the app, and let's give it 0.6 of a second. So there's a bit of it. No, let's give it 0.5, half a second. So there's a bit of a delay, not long enough to irritate the user, and they'll definitely hear the click. Then it'll definitely get played, so they'll know they've tapped the button. So they just have to wait for the exit to be performed. So that's the first little bit of change we have to do inside there. But the next bit's a little bit trickier, because we're going to change things around so that we can tap anywhere on the screen for the robin actually to make a jump. So we'll now put an else in here, and we'll now basically ignore the code below, and we'll do things a slightly different way. So what we're going to say is, first of all, because of the touching anywhere on the screen, we'll only have our settings label actually go to the settings screen if the game is not running, which is actually what we've got down here. So we can say here if, and then in fact I'll take this code here, copy it and drop it in here, and I'll put and game started equals false. So if when the game's running and we tap this, the robin will then make a little jump. So I can take this code out here. So this says if the game's not running and we've tapped the settings screen, the settings label, then we can set the then we can play the effect and run the settings scene. Otherwise, the game is running and we've tapped the screen, which means now then we'll just play the effect, and now we'll effectively start the game off or make the robin jump. So this now has the robin jumping wherever we tap the screen during the game. So I'm just going to save that and quickly build and make sure everything builds and I haven't made too many typo errors or anything like that. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to check how long I've been dribbling on for. Okay, 12 minutes, good. Okay, so that then I would say for this video is enough. I'm going to run the application now. So I'm going to go to the export application package. So just right click, the video will fade out now and you should next see me with the thing actually running. So here we are then with the application started and the annoying music going. And now I think I can tap anywhere on the screen and you can see that it's making the robin jump. Ignore the tubes and the gaps and things for now, those will be fixed. So we've got game over, you scored 1, and now tap the robin to start appears and we can start the game off again like that. I'll just, also down in the bottom right hand side we've got our exit label. As you can see, the general labels are bigger. If I go to settings, the labels are bigger, and now I can press exit and the app has exited. So that's going back onto the main screen now. Is it then for this video? In the next video what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the little, a couple of little corrections I found in the code and improve the gameplay a little bit. So the speed of the tubes, the distances between the tubes, and things like that. And there's one more thing, I mentioned the little bug that this introduced, and we'll fix this in the next video. Now we can tap the screen and make the robin jump. You remember that the tubes actually aren't infinitely high, so if you stand there and hammer the robin, it'll actually go over the tubes, and then you can have it off screen by continuously pressing the screen to make the robin jump. You can have it off screen and it'll just go over the tops of all the tubes and you'll get obviously a very high score. So we'll fix that in the next video as well. But that's enough for this one. Thanks very much for watching, and comments, questions, criticisms welcome as always on YouTube.